What's up guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Tatiana and in today's video we are making a double chocolate brownie sourdough, and yes, it tastes just as amazing as it sounds. Cannot wait for you guys to dive in and to make your own. I've actually got this recipe from this cookbook that I have from Sourdough Sparrow. I'll link her socials here. If you're a sourdough maker, highly recommend getting this cookbook. It's amazing. I'll link it below. And if you're wanting to get into sourdough, maybe this is the first video you're trying, two things. One, I have a step-by-step, in-depth video on how to make sourdough for beginners. I'll make sure to link it up here. And two, Amanda, this woman, has an amazing course that is what got me into making sourdough over a year ago. It was so helpful, so self-explanatory. So again, I'll make sure to link that below. But for today, we're gonna make this baby. So first things first, let's talk about ingredients, tools you will need, and then we'll get into it. So when it comes to making sourdough, there are a few essential tools and equipment that you need. I got everything on Amazon, and they even had this starter kit that had everything in one, which made it so much easier. So I'll make sure to link everything below. But first things first is you will need a Dutch oven. I believe this is a 5 or 6 quart size. I got this one on Amazon for a great deal because these can be pretty expensive, but the one I got, good price. I've been using it for a year. It's been amazing. So I'll make sure to link that one below as well. A few other tools. I don't really know the official names for them, but this is what I call them. A little sourdough hand whisker, sourdough scraper. You will need a stainless steel or glass bowl. You want those, not a wooden bowl. Bassinets to store your sourdough in. A pack of these razor cutting tools to decorate and cut the sourdough before putting it into the oven. And all of these things were actually included in the starter pack, so I just highly recommend just getting that. It's gonna make it so much easier for you. Let's talk about the ingredients that you're gonna need for today's recipe. First things first, you're gonna need about a half a cup of active starter, about 3 cups of bread flour, 2 cups of warmed filtered water, make sure it is filtered, about a half cup organic cane sugar, the main ingredient, half a cup of organic Dutch processed cocoa powder. We got this on Amazon, so I'll make sure to link it for you below. Some salt and chocolate chips, about 1.5 cups. So that is everything you're going to need. Now let's rewind to where I was at yesterday, where I recorded the step-by-step process on how we got started on this baby. First things first, you're going to start with mixing the half cup of starter with the 2 cups of filtered water. Make sure you're using filtered water or some type of spring bottled water. We don't want no toxic chemical tap water in our sourdough. Then using the whisker, you're gonna mix it all together until the clumps fully dissolve and it looks like this milky consistency. Then you're going to add the 3 cups of flour and slowly mix it together. I say slowly because I've gone too fast too many times and I've gotten flour all over myself. So go slow and you'll slowly see how the consistency gets thicker. Once it's all mixed together, we're going to be adding in the sugar and the cocoa powder. You'll notice it will be a little bit more difficult to blend this together, but it's totally fine. Looking back, I'm realizing I wish I added more flour. Living in Florida, sometimes the weather makes a big difference with my sourdough, and I noticed it was a little too watery. I was thinking it was cool. It looked like brownie batter, but we're not making brownie batter. We're making sourdough. So let this be a reminder that it doesn't have to be perfect every time, and go with it. It still turned out great. It just didn't rise as much. All right, once everything's mixed together, you're gonna put a damp cloth over the bowl and wait 45 minutes to an hour. Once your timer is up, you're going to add in the 2 teaspoons of sea salt, and we're going to mix that together with our hands, and then we get to go into our first series of stretch and folds. So when I mix the salt in together, I've learned I like just using my hand as if it's a spoon. It just works better mixing the salt in. You don't want to be eating into chunks of salt. And then we're going to go into our series of stretch and folds. So you're going to just grab the piece, you scoop it all together, and you fold it over as is. And then you rotate the bowl 90 degrees and you keep going. I do about 8 to 12 stretch and folds. The first few will be a little bit more difficult, more loose and stretchy, but it will get tighter as you go. Obviously, because I didn't have as much flour, it didn't get as tight, but it's all good. All right, then you're gonna wait another hour with the damp cloth over it, and you're going to do the same thing, except no salt this time. Just a series of 8 to 12 stretch and folds. Always make sure you are rotating it. Wait another hour. We're gonna do another set of stretch and folds. Are you tired of hearing me say stretch and folds? But as you'll notice, every time you go back after each hour, it just will get tighter and look more like a little bit of a loaf. And then we're gonna do one more set. So I typically do about 3 to 4 times of stretch and folds. This one I did a little bit more just because I noticed it was a little watery and I was hoping for it to rise a little bit more, and it did, but not as much as usual, and it's all good. So once you get done with the 8 to 12 stretch and fold, your last round, you're going to put the cloth over it and put it in the fridge overnight. Now here we are the next morning. You're going to grab the flour and you're going to fill your bassinet with it so that it doesn't stick, and put a little bit on the surface that you're working towards, and you're going to pull the dough that came from the fridge onto the flour. Here we're going to do a set of, I don't know what this is called, like flops. Pretty much you grab it by the sides, you let it flop over kind of like where it touches, and then you keep rotating it. Slow this down if you need to see it, but it's pretty easy. It's kind of similar where you like scoop it up, let it fold, rotate 90 degrees, and then continue again about 8 to 12. Sometimes you may need to add more flour if you notice your dough is getting a little sticky, which of course mine is because mine was a little bit more wet than usual. And then once you do that, you're going to spread it out, not super thin, but enough to kind of like add the toppings in. This is where we're going to be adding all of those yummy chocolate chips. You can put in as many or as little as your heart desires. Once you do that, you're gonna fold it into like a trifold. So bring one half in and then the other, and then you're going to add even more chocolate chips to this little fold here. Trust me, it's so good. And then you're going to slowly stretch and pull the dough and kind of roll it up all together. Again, you may need to add some more flour at this point if it's getting stuck to the surface that you're working on, totally fine. And as you continue to roll it up here, it's gonna get a little elongated, but don't worry, because that's when we're going to do a series of these like rotation where it's like pull towards you. So you're gonna kind of push it away, and when you rotate 90 degrees, you're gonna pull it nice and close towards you, and that's what like creates the bread loaf structure. Then using that scraper, you're going to scoop up the bread and flip it onto the bassinet. Then put it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. And once you're ready to cook, prep your oven. A tip is to leave a pan on the bottom shelf so it doesn't overcook the bottom of your sourdough. Put the Dutch oven in while the oven preheats to 475 degrees. While that's preheating, I will prep the loaf. So I'll grab a piece of parchment paper, sprinkle the flour so it doesn't get stuck. You're gonna flip the bread over onto it, add a little bit more flour, and then we're going to cut it up. I definitely recommend you do at least 2 deep slashes to make sure it cooks fully on the inside, and then you can decorate it, scrape it, all that beautiful sourdough art, whatever your heart pleases. Once the oven is preheated, the Dutch oven's gonna be hot, so be careful. Put it in, and you're going to cook it for about 20 to 25 minutes at the 475. I forgot to record here. After the 20 to 25 minutes, you're gonna reduce, shower outfit change here. You're gonna reduce the heat to 450 and put it in for another 15 minutes. And voila, look at how good this is. I put it on a cooling rack just so that the bottom doesn't get too hard by staying in the Dutch oven. It looks so good. And now it's just time to cool it off. And there we have it, our double chocolate brownie sourdough. Smells so freaking good. I cannot wait to have a bite out of this. So a tip that I do is after I let it cool in the cooling rack, I actually put it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the fridge overnight. And the next morning is actually when I cut up my sourdough into pieces. I've just found it a lot easier to cut through the sourdough and making even slices, but do what you please. If you're like, I can't wait a whole night to have a bite of this thing, I get it, enjoy it, savor it. I hope you guys give this a try. I hope you love it. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. And don't freak out if yours didn't come out perfect the first time. It takes practice. You never know. Sometimes the weather makes a few adjustments, so don't beat yourself up. Just give it another go. And I just appreciate you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and come back. We'll see what other recipes we make in the future. But for now, go enjoy your double chocolate brownie sourdough, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.